All right, welcome back to the next video. This one's going to be with components. So let's go over here and we'll just throw it back into swing. We'll call it JFrame with many components. And these different components, you'll see the different things that we come up with. All right. All right, so first thing that we're going to do is we have our package set up. Now we're going to import our library. So we have import java x.swing, import the java.awt. And the one thing is when we do the dot asterisk, that allows us to access everything in that library versus just doing one unique thing. So we have our libraries loaded. Now what we're going to do is, let's see here, what am I going to do? A little different here. Public class. So we're going to take this guy out. We're not going to use this at all this time around. All right, so we're going to, before we start there, we're going to use a, let's see, public class. We're going to declare our final up here. So let's do this. Final. This will be like the size of our thing, which we could actually grab. Let me do that right now because, like I said, copy and paste makes things so much easier. When you're coding and you learn how to code, you could actually use this copy and paste. I do it all the time. It just saves on writing a lot of code out sometimes. All right, so we have our width and our height. We're actually going to make it 300 this time, and we're going to make this a $1.50. All right, so that declares our final variables for the size of our frame. All right, so now we have that. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a another public JFrame with many components. I can't spell. Many components. And then we need to do a open close here. And what we're doing here is, I didn't put it there because we didn't have it. So we have public class JFrame with many components, and we have to do extends JFrame because we're extending it over to this guy right here. That's right, yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Did I spell something wrong? Okay. So right now it's saying it's missing a return type, but I'm not worried about that because we're going to code that. So, all right, so we're going to start off with a super. All right, so we're going to do the super. So remember the super, it's used inside a subclass method definition to call a method defined as a superclass. So private methods of a superclass cannot be called. So only like a public or protected method can be used in the super keyword. All right, so let's call super, and we'll just give it some type of name. We'll say demo of many components. Close that. All right. 1 second here. All right, so we have our super here, we have our final. So now what we're going to type here is we're going to do a lot of the same stuff. We're going to set our size, and this is all the same stuff we did before. We're going to do our frame, width, set our size and height. We're using these variables here. All right, so we have our set size. Now we're going to do our J label, heading equals new J label. This has many components. All right, and then we're going to do heading dot set font. We're going to set the font on this. New font, Arial, font dot bold, and then the size. do here? Oh, so you have to make sure it's uppercase or it won't work. Are we missing a variable? Yes, we need an extra tick. All right, great. So now we have that set up. We need to do another JLabel name prompt. So we want to prompt the user to enter something. Enter your name. Now we'll do, all right, so we have a label. Now we're going to do a text field. And this text field, and I'll show you something in a second here, equals new J text field. You put how many, I'll show you something. This right here, you put how many spaces you allow, or characters. What is a good idea is if you go to, let's see here, let me find something here on my whiteboard. All right. What's nice about a whiteboard is when you do your design in Java, whatever application you're utilizing, always suggest that come up with an idea of what you want your app to look like. So, for example, let's say that we have our label here. Like I said, this is bad. I do not like this at all. Very bad. So this is our label, and that'll be our verbiage right here. Then we might have a text box where the user inputs something, and then we might have a nice pretty button here. So I apologize. I need to come up with a better whiteboard. This is not good. Anyways, you have a label, you have a text field, and you have a button. The thing is, you should design visually what you want your application to look like before you write it. So that way you could make more sense of what's the size going to be, what are you expecting it to be. So now, as you notice, anytime we type in some type of field like a button or whatever, it's using J. Everything's J. J text field, J label. Makes it easier to remember. So we'll say new J button. Click to start. Now, how this is going to work is when we have this button up and they input their name and hit continue or start or whatever, nothing's going to happen. And the only reason being is we haven't programmed the action event. So as you remember before we talked about action events, we're not going to have an action event here yet. That'll be later on, but right now we're just creating some buttons on here. So we have our buttons, our labels, and so forth. Now what we need to do is we need to set our layout. So we'll do set layout, and we'll do new flow layout, and we'll close that. Perfect. And we'll do add heading. Remember, this is when we're adding stuff to our toy box in a sense. Name prompt. So we're adding all our objects here. Good. Add name field. Good. And add button. Awesome stuff. All right, so now we have all that. Now, if I click run, look, it says error cannot find or load main class swing.component. So if you go back to our JFrame, you notice how we have a public main class. We have a main class. This guy doesn't have a main class. So what we need to do is we need to create another class so that we could tie this class with that class. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go over to swing, right click, we're going to create a class. We're going to call this component demo. We're going to click the public static main class. All right, so now what we're going to do here is we're going to identify the name of our object. It's JFrame with many components. So we're going to type in JFrame with many components frame equals new JFrame with many components. So we're saying, hey, you know what? We're going to use this object name, which is the name of the program. Well, it's the name of our class. So it's based off the name of our class. So our class name is, we're saying, hey, we're creating this class, we're going to use it. So now we're going to be able to inherit everything from it. So we're going to type in frame dot, you see all the variables there, but in this case we're just going to do set visible, which means that, hey, we want to see this. Okay, so now if I run this, it should allow me to run my program. And let me pull it over here. It's over on my other window, and as you see here, this has many components. It allows me to connect to this. So when you're building something like that, that is how you have to run it. And pull this back up here. And now if I type in, what is your name, Professor? Jeff. Click start. Nothing happens. That's only because we do not have a component for that feature. So this is about component demos. So let's so these guys are related. So now let's do something else. Let's talk about, so we talked about different objects on there. Maybe we add a tooltip to this as well. So we could probably recode a lot of this. So let's do this here. Let's create a new class. We'll call this one, and we're going to do a lot of copy and paste in here, JFrame with tooltip. Oops. Okay. So we're going to hit finish. So now what we're going to do is we're going to copy most of this stuff out of here, I think. So what we're going to do is, let's do this. Let's copy it all, but we'll call it something different, no big deal. So we need to make sure that we go back here and fix this and call it JFrame with tooltip. All right, so you see all these error messages, no problem. Copy that if I follow that command. And we're going to say, that's fine, we can just leave all that the same. So we want to make sure that we save it. All right, I have it saved. So now what I'm going to do differently is, let me see here. What do I want to do a little bit differently? All right, so the other thing that we're going to do differently is, in here we're going to do a set default, close operation, frame, actually I'll close, all right. And everything else is going to remain the same. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to go to button, dot, we're going to add a tooltip to the set, tooltip. We'll say click this button. Okay. So, all right, sorry, I had to stop there for a moment. Apparently my Facebook was sending out posts about Angelina Jolie's death that didn't occur. Apparently I clicked on a link earlier and some app automatically downloaded it and started posting stuff without my authorization all throughout the day. So that was fun to figure out how to fix that. So apologize, getting back to this. All right, so I added the set tooltip, and now I need to build some type of component to run it, because right now if I run it, it's not going to run. So what we need to do is come up with some type of tooltip demo, because, you know, like the last one we called it whatever, another component. So we need to do something very similar to the, yes, we need to do something similar to the component demo. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do swing, we're going to call class, and we're going to call this class tooltip demo. Yeah, tooltip demo, right? We're going to do public static, boom. All right, so we're going to do the same stuff we did before. So we have public static void, but now we need to call that class. So we're going to say JFrame with tooltip, because that's the name of the class that we have. Frame equals new JFrame with tooltip. Close it, and we're going to say, and we don't have to call it frame. We could call it, let's say we call it my frame. Call it anything you want to call it. Set visible, and then we'll say true. All right, so now if I run this, it should pull up our thing, which it does. And look at that, click this button. So the tooltip worked. You enter your button, we can say Jeff. Nothing's gonna happen. Now, the thing is, we could probably add the tooltip to the text box as well. So you know how like we have, I think 12 I said, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll say that's, we'll say 0. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, so forth. So let's say that, oops. Let's say that we want to, let me close out of this. Let's say we go over to, excuse me here, tooltip demo right there. All right. So we have button.tooltip. So let's say that we want to do something else. Let's see here. We have button. So button is the name of our object. JText field. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it in the text field as well. So we're going to take that object name field dot set tooltip, and we're going to say required value. All right, what did I do? Forgot to add quotation marks. Oops, Control Z. All right, let's see. Let's do this. Required value needed. All right, so now we'll save it and we'll run it again. Let's see if it worked. Yes, required value needed. So these are tooltips that helps. This is very helpful because it does help not developers, but end users. Sometimes end users have problems with figuring stuff out. So this right here ends my second lab work on Java with Swing. So in our first one, we built the different frames, 1 through 5, and then we built the component demo with components, tooltip, and so forth. So what I would recommend is go ahead and try this out and your play with this in your lessons this week. Figure out how to do this, and then your assignment will be very similar, and you can refer back to the videos on how to do this. So if you have any questions, just shoot me an email or post it to the Blackboard on assignments. Thank you.